Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today's lecture is about bladder tumors, and bladder carcinoma is a malignant tumor which arises from the epithelial lining of the urinary bladder. The normal epithelial lining of the bladder is usually transitional epithelium, and the transitional epithelium usually starts from the minor calyces and goes down all the way to the urethra, and at the fossa navicularis it changes into squamous epithelium. Considering the histopathology, when you are coming from the bladder lumen to the outside, first of all you encounter the transition cell layer of the epithelium, then the lamina propria, and after that is the muscle, which consists of three layers, which is the inner longitudinal layer, the middle circular layer of fibers, and the outer longitudinal muscle fibers. And after that there is the serosa. Now, Caucasians are 2 times more at risk of developing bladder tumors, comparing them to Asians and Hispanics. Male to female ratio is 3:1. The typical age for the patients to present is 40 to 60 years. The risk factors, there are many associated risk factors. The genetics, retinoblastoma gene mutation, this is a tumor suppressor gene. If it is not present in somebody, then the risk of developing TCC is high. And if somebody has a persistent urachus, that gives a high chance of them having adenocarcinoma of the bladder. Okay? And then there is some cigarette smoking, which increases the risk 2 to 4 times. And then there is cyclophosphamide, arsenic, and certain professions in which the patients are working in chemical industries, paint factories, who are working with hydrocarbons, benzene, etc. Then typically in North Africa, there is an increased risk in patients who have infections with Schistosomia hematobium. This causes squamous cell carcinoma and also an increased risk of transversal cell carcinoma. Similarly, in patients who have recurrent bladder infections, who have bladder stones, have a higher risk of developing tumors. Now remember, whenever we are talking about transitional cell bladder tumors, we are more than 95% we are talking about transitional cell carcinomas. So always remember, if somebody just says to you that this patient has a bladder tumor, it will mean transitional cell carcinoma until proven otherwise. Squamous cell carcinoma is 1 to 3%, adenocarcinoma is 1 to 2%, and the others are small cell carcinoma and spindle cell carcinoma. How will you diagnose a patient to be having bladder carcinoma? The typical history is bleeding in urine, and the bleeding is typically fresh and also has clots. Now clots, if the patient is passing, will be amorphous. Amorphous means when there is no significant, there is no specific size of the size or shape of the clots. They are round and irregular in shape. And this typically occurs in bleeding which is occurring from the bladder. However, if it is coming from the higher up, that is the kidney or ureter, then the clots are cylindrical. The patient will have a painless bleeding and will say that this is probably the first episode they've been having in their life. Okay? After this history, you will investigate the patient. In investigation, you will do the baseline investigations like the CBC, creatinine, sodium, potassium. You will check for other comorbidities, and then you will go on to do the ultrasound. In ultrasound, you will see the bladder to be having filling defect. You will see that there is some polypoidal growth which is mentioned on the bladder. Always remember that the ultrasound which has to diagnose will be done at a full bladder always. You should not have the patient to be having an empty bladder, because it is very difficult to comment on it. The other investigations that you can do are cytology. Now typically the cytology which is recommended in transitional cell carcinoma is 3 early morning specimens for cytology. When the patient gets up early in the morning, the first urine that he passes should be sent for cytology, and the cytologist will then examine in the microscope whether there are some neoplastic cells present over there or not. Now coming to the intensity and incidence of the symptoms, hematuria is typically present in 80 to 90% of the patients. If the patient is complaining of some pain, that means that they have either a thrombosed tumor, or they have the tumor has thrombosed and it has migrated into the ureter to cause obstruction, or that the bladder tumor has grown onto the ureteric orifice, hence causing obstruction of the ureter and hence causing increased intrauterine pressure and hence causing the pain. Otherwise, usually this is painless. The other urinary symptoms like frequency, nocturia, and inability to control urine, that is urge incontinence, can be present in this. Now, after doing this, there are two schools of thought. One says that you should do a CT scan abdomen pelvis prior to the resection of the bladder tumor so as to stage. This is said because once you have done resection of the bladder tumor in the bladder, then there can be some artifacts which are related to postoperative changes on the CT afterwards. But there's also a school of thought which says that first of all you should do a resection of the bladder tumor, after which you will have a confirmed histopathology, after which you should do the staging. However, these days, pre-operative staging by a CT scan is usually practiced. Now you must remember that cystoscopy is also an investigation in this case. In this, you have to put in a cystoscope. You can either do it by a flexible cystoscope or a rigid cystoscope. And when you go into the bladder, you see all around and see if there is any cauliflower-like growth, a papillary growth present in the bladder. If the tumor is present on the CT scan, you may need to do a CT scan of the chest in order to stage the tumor, but that is obviously a second step. If an IVP is done for this purpose, you can have filling defects present either in the kidney collecting system or in the bladder, and they will appear on the screen on the films as filling defects. Now, generally the grading of the tensile cell carcinoma is done in two ways. There is low grade tumor and high grade tumor. Low grade tumor is one which has a good differentiation between the cells and less mitotic figures, and in high grade, however, there is loss of differentiation of the cells and a lot of mitosis is present. When you talk about TNM classification, TX as usual is primary tumor cannot be assessed. T0 is there is no evidence of primary tumor. TA is non-invasive papillary carcinoma. TIS, now remember, TIS is a misnomer in this because you might think that if it is coming after TA or T0, then TIS should be a low grade tumor. But transitional cell carcinoma in situ is a high grade tumor. Remember that. And then T1 is when the tumor invades the subepithelial connective tissue. In T2, however, the tumor goes into the muscle. In 2A, it involves the superficial bladder muscles, detrusor muscle. 2B, it involves the deep bladder detrusor muscles. And T3, it invades the perivesical tissue. In T3A, it is microscopic involvement. In T3B, it is macroscopic involvement. And T4 obviously is when the tumor extends outside the bladder. Okay? And then there's a regional lymph node. NX is no lymph node is assessed. N0 is no regional lymph node metastasis is present. N1 is metastasis in single node. And M2 there is multiple lymph nodes, or if it is outside the pelvis as well. Now, it is then classified into low risk tumors and high risk tumors. Low risk tumors are primary solitary tumors. That is, if you see the cystoscopy, you can see only one tumor. This is known as a low risk tumor. Intermediate risk tumors are not well defined, and they can be one or two growths inside the bladder. In high risk tumors, they can be a T1 tumor with multiple locations in the bladder, and if the tumor is broad based, it is more than 2 centimeter, or there are more than 3 growths. This will constitute as a high grade tumor. Cystoscopically, I will also send you the PowerPoint presentation in which you can see how the staging is documented. And what are the possible complications of bladder tumor? The first and foremost is obviously bleeding. The bladder tumors can bleed a lot, and they can cause a significant decrease in hemoglobin. And we have seen patients coming with a hemoglobin of 4. Because this is painless bleeding, mostly the patients will just think that is probably due to some infection, will take antibiotics, and by the time they reach the healthcare facilities, they have a very low hemoglobin. The tumor thrombus or the embolus can cause blocking of the urinary tract. That is, it can cause obstruction of the ureter, and hence can cause raised creatinine and renal failure. If, however, the tumor is present in the trigonal area of the bladder, it can invade the ureteric orifices, hence causing obstruction either unilaterally or bilaterally as well. If the obstruction persists for a long duration of time, kidney stones can also develop. Other complications can be enterovesical vesicular fistulas, and then there can be complications of the spread of the tumor. It can have metastasis mostly into the abdomen and into the peritoneum, then into the liver, into the lungs, and also into the brain. Now, when talking about the treatment of the bladder tumors, remember that you first have to diagnose what is the histopathological grade of the tumor. So first of all, you have to do a cystoscopy and resection of the bladder tumor. Once you have done the resection, you will send the tumor for histopathology, and the histopathologist will tell you what grade of tumor it is, what is the stage of the tumor. If it is a superficial tumor, that is, it is limited to the epithelium or the subepithelium, then the treatment of choice is repeated resection at 3 months with intravesical immunotherapy, which is known as mitomycin C. Okay, so once a patient has developed a bladder tumor, you will do his TURBT, and despite the fact that even if the ultrasound follow-up does not show any growth of the tumor, you will always do a cystoscopy at every 3 months. Even if the patient does not have any bleeding, even if the patient does not have any growth on the ultrasound, you will always do 3 monthly cystoscopy and resection of the bladder tumor. And if there is no tumor, you will take a biopsy from the resected bed and send it for histopathology. Once 2 years have passed of 3 monthly resection with no recurrence, then you can switch to 6 monthly cystoscopy. And then after 2 more years, you can switch to 1 yearly cystoscopies. Now remember, if there is any recurrence of the tumor, you will go to 3 monthly cycle again. Okay? And if the bladder tumor is high grade, that is, it is infiltrating the muscle, then the treatment of choice is radical cystectomy, in which the whole of the bladder is taken out, and the ureters are then implanted either in a loop of ileum and brought out to the skin, which is called an ileal conduit, or you can make an artificial internal bladder by the ileum, which is known as a pouch. Okay, so you can do either two things. So remember, superficial tumors, you need to do cystoscopies and resection after every 3 months, and if the tumor has gone into the bladder, the detrusor muscle, then the treatment of choice is cystectomy with urinary diversion. Can either be ileal conduit or new bladder, which is constituted from the ileum itself. If somebody is not a good candidate for surgery, then you can try intravesical BCG in high grade cases, but the results are not very good. Radiation and chemotherapy remain not very good options for this tumor. This was all about the bladder tumors. I hope you have understood. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me any queries. Allah Hafiz.